Happy New Year, everybody. This is a quick video, but I'm gonna pull a YouTuber move first. I'm gonna ask you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification thing so that YouTube actually gets this stuff out there. They keep demonetizing my videos all the time for no reason, and then everyone doesn't get to see about them stuff. Anyway, it's the first new video of 2018, and I thought, what a better way to start the year than kind of like real quick thinking about what hasn't worked so far this year and how you can make it better going into the second part of the school year. And so I have 8 ideas on how you could potentially make your lessons better, right? So these are resources that I use now that I think just enhance my classroom. Number 1, so I did a little bit of a collaboration a while ago with my friend Rusty Earl from the University of Kansas. He does this movie documentary series called A Walk in My Shoes. And they made one, it just came out a month or 2 ago, about teachers in Kansas in their first year of teaching. I wasn't sure what to expect, but when I watched it, I found myself sort of like being magically transported back to my first year of teaching and all of the hurdles that you come up against and how hard it is to think about lesson planning and classroom management and dealing with stress in school and outside of school and your regular life that you're trying to fit in amongst all of that madness. And I think for someone that is no longer in their teaching, the first year of teaching, I've been at it for a while, it was really kind of fun for me to watch because I felt like a teacher would bring up a particular struggle. Maybe they were struggling with a student or a lesson wasn't going very well. And as someone that's been teaching for a while, I thought, oh, well, all you have to do is just do this. Or maybe if you tried this idea. And that was really refreshing for me because it just made me realize like, yeah, I have grown. So even if you have been teaching for 2 years or 10 years or 20 years, it's just kind of a cool movie to watch to remind yourself of how much you've grown and how much new teachers really need your help. They need you to go into their classrooms and to sit with them at lunch and to help them feel a part of the community at your school. And remind you that like, yeah, your little tips and tricks might help. You should definitely check that out. Rusty is doing amazing stuff out there in Kansas, and this movie is 100% worth your time. I'll put the link in the description box below so you can check that out and at your leisure. Second thing that I use, Harry Wong, which everybody knows, or if you went to school for teaching, you know who Harry Wong is. Harry Wong started a website years ago. I've been using it since I started teaching, called teachers.net. And the thing that I like about this site is they have free lesson plans on there. So even if you don't use their lessons exactly the way that they have it laid out, it just kind of gives you some fun ideas to go off of. And years ago, it's where I got the idea to do a Harlem Renaissance museum in my classroom. It was my first year teaching. I had a lesson that bombed. I totally trashed it, and I kind of decided to sort of wing it with this museum that I was going to create in my classroom, and it was by far one of the best. It was the best lesson I did that year, and it was one of my favorite lessons I've done in all of my teaching. But teachers.net just kind of breaks it down. It's all free. You don't have to pay for all this stuff, and I just think it's worth kind of taking a glance at. Third, much to the chagrin of my good friend Colby Sharp, I am going to recommend Teachers Pay Teachers, but this is why. I'm not 100% sold on Teachers Pay Teachers because TPT is a lot of worksheets. It's a lot of fancy worksheets, right? And I know a ton of friends that do TPT, and so I'm not trying to take anything away from them. But if I think about so the example I'll use today is my friend, the hipster teacher, has stuff that's available on there. It's all like $1 to $2, but you can get like a Kendrick Lamar poetry lesson. You can get unit curriculum for the book Night. And the thing that I think is interesting about this is you don't want to 100% rely on whatever you buy or find online. It should be a stepping stone to help you kind of like flesh out some other ideas, or that you could supplement into something that you're coming up with or that your school already has planned out for you. I think TPT, if used like that, can be useful, but you want to be careful on the things that you buy because you don't want to become worksheet teacher. Number 4, I don't know if I've been remembering to number these, but anyway, the New York Times has great stuff. If you go on the New York Times website or just go into Google and type in New York Times lesson plans, you'll get a ton of great stuff that's relevant and is created for all different types of learners. So what they might do is have an article from the New York Times, and after reading the article, there might be a film clip that you like sort of compare and contrast with. They have really great discussion topics underneath. They have really great essay ideas and writing prompts. It is a wealth of knowledge, and it's completely free. You go on, you can print stuff out. It's a really good thing for if you only have a half day, or if you want to just, sometimes you end a unit and it's like a Thursday and you don't really have something to do on that Friday. It's a great go-to sort of between lesson to use for that. So NewYorkTimes.com, and just type in lesson plans into Google and you'll find it, and it's awesome. Speaking of Google, number five is Google. A couple of really quick tips on how to use Google. One, if you're looking up a lesson plan or a unit plan or an idea for, the Crucible, put in the best Crucible lesson plan ever. Putting the words great or favorite or awesome before stuff will get you much different search results sometimes than just putting in Crucible lesson plan. I don't know what it is, but you just get more awesome stuff a lot of times. And another quick tip is make sure you put .doc after your search, right? So if you're putting in Crucible lesson plan or awesome Crucible lesson plan, put .doc, and that will search documents for you. And I didn't know this for years. I would get all these weird PDF forms or stuff that I couldn't print out or was like embedded in someone's blog. Putting that .doc is going to get you documents that you can just print right out on your computer, and it's a lot easier to use and a lot more accessible. Number 6 is Thug Notes. Now, warning, this is questionable material, so make sure that you're not showing this to your 4th grade class. Sorry, elementary school teachers, unless you teach somewhere where, parents don't care about cursing, inappropriate material. But Thug Notes is one of these things that from the onset, I thought it just looked racist and talked down to kids. But what I'm finding is using supplements like Thug Notes, or if you go on Spark Notes, they have these tiny videos sometimes that summarize a book. It helps students that kind of have lost the picture of what's going on kind of gain the picture. And if you're a high school student, this is a great way to just sort of refresh your memory before a test, and it breaks it down. It's actually really, really well done despite the language, and some of them you can find with cleaner language than others, but it's a great way to sort of remind yourself what happened, remind your students what happened, and get you thinking a little bit differently about a lesson than you normally would.
This book focuses on 3 little homies by the name of Scout, her crippled brother Jim, and some homeboy by the name of Dill. Now, Scout's pop is a righteous lawyer with the badass name of Atticus.
And at the end of each video, there's an analysis where the guy that's narrating it kind of breaks it down and says, this is what the writer might have been trying to do. This is what scholars think about this particular piece of writing. So Thug Notes is just an interesting way to kind of look at your content in an interesting way. I think I said that a lot of times. That was interesting. Now the wife is over here talking. The wife is holding the light right now on the side here because I don't have a light stand, and it's late, and I thought I was going to do this earlier, but I didn't because I was recording video games with my children. Number 7, if you look on YouTube or just go on the net for any of John Green's stuff. John Green is that author that wrote Fault in Our Stars and Looking for Alaska and a bunch of other stuff. I think he and his brother created what is it? VidCon. I think they invented VidCon or something like that, or electricity, something. One of the things that John Green and his brother Hank do is they break down these really complicated subjects into bite-sized pieces that students can understand. They present it in an interesting enough way that it's a good go-to sometimes if you're trying to get like some background knowledge on something. So say you want to learn a little bit more about World War II before you read Night or before you read Mouse. Let's say you are going to read The Crucible and you want to learn a little bit more about the Salem witch trials or something along those lines. You can look these videos up, just search John Green or Crash Course and they show right up, and they're really, really well done and really insightful. And they're great because you don't have to spend a whole class watching some boring, dull old video from 30 years ago. It's quick and to the point. Number 8, my last one, is a website called Toondoo. And Toondoo is cool, and I've been using it forever because sometimes I like taking books or stories that we're reading and turning them into comic books. because they think it gives kids a visual, it helps kids that like art, it helps take something that the students already like comic books or graphic novels, and marries it with whatever we're learning in class. Toondoo is completely free. The students can submit things on Toondoo to you. They don't have to put in any private information to get an account, so even little kids can do this. And what you do is you go on, you pick how many cells you want in your image. So if you're doing a comic book, you could have 6 or 7 to do that with, although 7's kind of a weird number, but whatever. You can tap and drag your background in. Pick from a host of different characters to put in there. You can put dialogue boxes, you can put thought bubbles. It's a really fun way and a really quick way to help kids create a visual for what they're reading in class or what they're talking about in class. And I guess as kind of an extra number 9-ish would be Pinterest, but Pinterest can be tricky. And if you're in college or if you're thinking about teaching, I mean, teachers already know about Pinterest, but if you're looking for fun ideas, Pinterest can be useful. The problem with Pinterest is it almost always leads back to sites that cost money. And you know, we're teachers, man. We dream on a budget. We don't know who has money to spend on lesson plans and stuff like that. So you can find stuff, but it can also become a really dangerous rabbit hole where you're like, oh, I'll just check Pinterest real quick. And then 2 hours later, you're like, what am I doing? Where's my life gone? You went down the Pinterest rabbit hole. Those are my 8/almost 9-ish suggestions for you. You can do me a favor before you go. If you could leave down below in the comment section, what resources do you use, or what's a good website or idea that you have somewhere that the rest of us could sort of like share in your wealth of resources that you have for your classroom. And that's it, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Peace.